Hey everyone, we are here at the Are You Not Entertained cooking series, a series that is focusing on entertaining without feeling stressed. So one of my favorite things to cook when I'm entertaining, and it's very low stress, super casual but delicious, is a whole roasted chicken. It's one of the easiest things you can make. I think people are really intimidated by it, but I'm going to show you how to make it perfectly every time with, you know, everybody's gonna eat it up. You'll have no leftovers, so always think about making two. So the first thing you need to do is bring your chicken out and get that to room temperature. Whenever you're cooking meat of any kind, you want to bring it up to room temperature so that when it goes in the oven, it won't steam first. You'll start to really get that crisp on the skin right away, and everything will start to cook at an even temperature. So I've had this chicken out for about an hour or so, and it's gotten nice and room temperature. But I also want to stress the importance of patting your chicken dry. So just take a paper towel, dry out the chicken. You can also make a little stock of your own if you don't have a large pot of stock going on the stovetop. You can just mix these pieces of innards with some water, maybe a little bit of sprig of some sort of herb that you might have around, some rosemary, thyme, some garlic cloves, a little black peppercorn, and maybe some salt. Just put that in a small saucepan and let that reduce while you get your chicken ready, and then you can make a gravy. Okay, so now that we have our chicken nice and dry, we need to prepare a beautiful bed for it to sleep on while it goes into the oven. The easiest way to do this is either with a roasting rack or a cast iron skillet, which is one of my favorite things to use in the kitchen. We're just gonna prepare a bed of vegetables and potatoes for the chicken to sit on. That way all of the drippings, all the fat that's going to ultimately render off the chicken will go into flavoring the delicious vegetables and potatoes. And I have some vegetables that I'm just going to rough chop, because the bigger they are, you know, the longer they'll take to cook. And this chicken will be in the oven for about 90 minutes. So we don't want our vegetables to be mush. So I'm just gonna give these a rough chop using my knife. Always keep your thumb in and kind of hold your hand far up on the hull of the knife. That'll give you your most control. And for these carrots, I'm just gonna do a rough chop. You could even do this fun cut where it's an oblique cut and they look sort of interesting for your guest. You just roll the carrot and cut on the diagonal. Okay, one more carrot. Now you can use whatever vegetables you have in your pantry or in your crisper. Just, you know, anything that you like. I'm going to mix it up with some fennel and some potatoes. You'll notice I'm picking off the celery leaves. I am obsessed with celery leaves. I think they have so much flavor. They're a beautiful garnish, and I think a lot of times people just throw it away. I have no idea why. And then just cut up some celery. We don't need too much, so we'll see where this gets us. So we have to make room for some onion and some potato. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna add one yellow onion. Just roughly chopped. The way I like to chop an onion is just go from the root to the tip, all the way down. Sorry if I start crying, it just, cutting onions makes me very emotional. And I'm always embarrassed. So I take my knife and I just make a slit right in the top layer of the onion. So I can take my thumb and easily just peel back that whole first layer. You want to peel back the whole first layer because a lot of times it can be fibrous, it can be slimy. Don't worry, I'm going to save these puppies for when I make stock the next time. Again, with this guy, I'm actually going to take off this root side, take off this stem, and then again, going in one layer. This is a thick boy. But don't worry, you're not wasting onion. You're gonna use it in your stock at a later time, okay? All right. So I'm just gonna cut these in large chunks, just once across, and then a few times diagonally downward for our base. Throw the onions in. Kind of like to separate them if they have a large chunk in there. And then for the fun part, not our potatoes yet, but our fennel. This is, I think, this is the ingredient of 2019. It was, you know, my favorite new adventure was fennel. So I'm just going to take off the tops, but don't worry, we'll be using those later. It's sort of a mix between kind of a celery and an anise flavor. It's a little licoricey, but I don't want that to deter you, because once it cooks, it becomes sweet and fragrant and just so herbaceous and tender, the crunch. I mean, it is delicious. Even raw, shaved on a salad. I make this dish with fennel and sweet Italian sausages once a week. It is to die for. So from here, I'm going to cut this in half. Okay, this is what fennel looks like. It's so beautiful. And you can see here that there's a bit of a root. So I want to take that out, and it's similar to a pineapple when you take it out. So the easiest way is I just cut it in half again here. And then, oh God, you can just easily see where that root wants to come right off. It's just a little bit fibrous, a little bit harder to digest. So I just go in with my knife and take that section off. And then we're just gonna slice this. Okay. Throw that in. Do the same thing with this side. Here's my root. Take it right out. And then just give it a slice. If you've never tried fennel, I highly, highly recommend throwing it into one of your dishes this year. Seeing how you like it. Try roasting it really hard. That becomes more sweet and jammy. You can do it raw, thinly shaved on a mandolin in a salad. It's delicious. Okay. This one we're gonna kind of take out those little frizzy bits. Lots of flavor there too, though. Just another rough chop. Since we have potatoes too, and this is a large fennel bulb, we're just gonna go with the one fennel. But I always get two just in case, because they can really vary in size. And I always will have another use for it. Like I mentioned, that sausage situation, that's where this other guy's gonna go later this week. Sweet Italian sausage, roasted fennel, and then pickled oranges. It's so good. You can check it out on hangrydistrict.com. Okay. So we've got some nice colors here. We've got some sweetness from the carrot. We've got some anise flavor from the fennel. We've got our celery. Now we're just gonna have some of these potatoes. I'm gonna give them a quick rinse. And I like these to be on top so that all the chicken fat really gets down into the potatoes, makes them crispy and creamy inside. Okay. Just cut these in half. I like to use the tricolor potatoes. I just think it's pretty. And they all sort of have a different texture and taste. Like, so gorgeous. Purple potato. Really adds a little gourmet flair to your roast chicken. If you can find rainbow carrots, that would really kick things up a notch. But you know, entertaining does not have to be hard. Pick something simple, enjoy the people you're with, make a few cocktails. Don't stress yourself out. I've also seen this done similarly in a Dutch oven, where you can put everything in a Dutch oven, put the chicken in. You can speed up the process by popping the lid on. But I just like it this way. I love utilizing my cast iron skillet. You can also do it on a roasting pan, of course. Once you see what we put on the chicken, you'll know why it's so tasty. Okay, so there's only 2 of us in my household, me and my husband, and whenever we make this roasted chicken, we always get so excited about the leftovers, and we quickly realize that a small chicken basically feeds 2. So especially this one, you keep going back for more and then you're really not left with much. So I do recommend making a couple when you do this. Okay. Before we put the chicken on top, we're going to put some olive oil and salt and pepper on our vegetables and potatoes to make sure that they're really well seasoned. So we've got some olive oil going in. There will be some fat from the chicken, so you don't need to do too much. Then we're gonna do some pepper. And since this will be aromatic, I am going to use my rosemary sea salt. It's so easy. You just infuse rosemary with kosher salt. It smells so good. I wish the camera guy, Billy, could smell it, Billy. So I'm just gonna go pretty liberally. I mean, potatoes need a lot of salt. Plus, you're entertaining. This has to be similar to a restaurant quality meal, right? Okay. Just gonna give that a little stir. Make sure everything is covered. Try to keep those potatoes on top, but they'll get nice and crispy on the bottom of the pan too. Okay. Now it's time to dress our beautiful chicken. This is my stock bag. I'm gonna add all these ends that we didn't use to it and freeze it to make stock later. We have some going. You'll be seeing an episode on this series just about that, including all these fennel tops. Okay. All right, so for the bird, we have it nice and dry. I'm just gonna lift it and plop it on these vegetables over here. You can truss it, but I'll show you what I do. It's a little bit different. So I want to make sure that the inside of the bird is seasoned. So I'm gonna crack some pepper into the lid, little trick. Get my salt ready. It's hard with just one person. All right, so I've got my pepper. Going to pick the bird up. Show you his insides. Sprinkle some pepper in there. All the way down. And then also salt the inside of the cavity. This is really where all the flavor in the chicken is going to come from. It's gonna cook from the inside out. So the more you do to the inside of the chicken, the more flavor it will have. So I'm gonna season it pretty liberally in there. But wait, there's more. Now we're going to add a lemon inside. So I'm gonna give it a nice roll. You could take it an extra step and zest the lemon and put it on top, but I'm not going to do that. So just cut this lemon into quarters or eighths. You can tell my knives need to be sharpened. And we're just gonna put them in there. You don't want to overstuff it. I've made that mistake before. If you overstuff it, the bird does shrink and it will explode. So you don't want that to happen. You want a nice, pretty bird. Okay, now I'm just gonna tuck the wings under the bird, like so. It's not too big. We're just gonna let it do its thing. And now I'm gonna give my hands another rinse. We're going to pour butter over it. This is gonna be very flavorful chicken. Sometimes I accidentally put the bird upside down, so it's a big fear of mine. So we're in good shape here today. Okay, we have an organic bird. So you'll still see there may be a couple feathers left on there. That's okay, that just means they treated it right. So we're gonna take, I have half of a stick of melted butter. And if your chicken is still cold, you'll see how it'll just stick to the skin. It's pretty cool. So we're just gonna start with the breast. Make sure you get it all the way over to the wings and the legs. I like to get all the butter out. If you have fresh thyme sprigs, it would be a perfect thing to stuff inside the cavity with the lemons, any kind of herbs really. We're just keeping things simple today. And then we will finish it with some salt and pepper. I like my chicken salty, okay? Also hitting the vegetables a little bit more with that. Okay, and some pepper. I mean, and that's it. Like, the pepper's over it, so whatever. This is all you have to do. I mean, it takes maybe 10 minutes to even chop all of those things, get your chicken ready, and then you just pop it in the oven for 90 minutes. I mean, what could be simpler? Look how beautiful this baby is. And just wait till you see what happens when it comes out of the oven. So into the oven we go.